Welcome to today's video, guys. Do you see this weather? It is crazy today. So we figured it'd be the perfect opportunity to talk to you guys about the ugly truth of boat ownership. Boat ownership. Boating, boat ownership. Same difference. Wow, we're twinning a lot today, guys. Maybe it's the weather. My name is Emily.
My name's Amanda, and welcome to our channel, Gale Force Twins.
Like I was saying, guys, the weather's really bad, so we can't get out and go fishing or go lobstering or go diving because it's really windy and rainy and just it's kind of cold today.
It's
too.
Just nasty.
Clearly. So we thought we'd talk about the price and cost of boat ownership.
A boat.
Maintenance.
That has been a common question we have received a lot, all the time.
Yeah, they're always like, how much does it cost to have your boat?
Yes.
And I think the most important thing we need to start with is our boat is 2005 original motors, so it's gonna cost more to maintain an older boat.
Yes, I think that's because our boat is at the point where it might be getting close to retirement. So that's kind of, this video, what we're gonna do is we actually just had a huge service on this boat.
We
had a ton of work done, and we probably do something like this, how many times a year would you say?
No more, like, I was gonna say
2 or 3 times.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, 2 or 3 times. So this is something that happens 2 or 3 times a year. Normally something goes wrong, something breaks, and this needs to happen. Whether or not it's engine work, whether or not it's steering, whether or not it's electronics, whether or not it's the radar, something like this seems to happen 2 or 3 times a year. Now we're running our boats all the time, sometimes in rough conditions, so it might be happening more often to us than to most people.
But hold on, Amanda, flip side, a boat that sits is not good. So running a boat is also really good. The fact that we run our boats a lot is good.
It keeps it going.
Keeps them warm.
So, we just had this giant maintenance done, a lot of work done. What we're gonna do is we're basically just gonna read off the invoice and tell you guys
exactly how much it costs.
Yes.
We had to make a move undercover because, guys, the rain started to come down, but we're not gonna let it stop us from telling you guys about
the ugly truth of boating.
Yes.
So let's start with a little bit of background information. The boat is a 32-foot Intrepid. So just so you guys can understand that, it's a 2005. So the hull is 2005 and the engines are 2005. Now guess what, guys? That means that the engines are going to be 17 years old this year. I mean, that's kind of insane.
I think that's older than some of our viewers.
I think it is.
That's really wild.
And how many hours are we at?
Definitely over 3,000.
Over 3,000, maybe closing in on 3,500. 3,500 hours on the motor. So that's kind of the lifespan of a motor.
Especially of this age.
Yes. So it's okay to have that many hours on an engine if, maybe they're 5 years old, but when they're 17 years old, that's a lot. So let's just get right into it and let's start going over what was the first cost we had on this job.
The first cost that we had was the 100-hour service. Now this is standard. What I'm about to talk to you guys about needs to happen every 100 hours. So instead of miles on a car, we have hours on an engine. So every 100 hours, you gotta bring your boat in and get your 100-hour service. The price of our 100-hour service was $1,125. And that is standard. That happens every, like I said, 100 hours. And how often would you say that is for us, Amanda? Every 3 months?
Every 3 months probably for us. Now we're definitely putting more hours on our boat than the average person is, because we do this for a living. So we are putting,
like, for example, when we're really busy, we'll do that in a month.
Oh,
So in the summer, we'll hit 100 hours in one month.
It's super fast.
In the winter, we might go 2 closer to 3
months. Exactly. And that price is very standard. We've had different shops do the 100-hour service for us, and some of them we've gotten like really good deals with because of relationships we've had, and gotten a little bit less than that, but
it's always around $1,000.
That's really right where you're gonna be, and that's for 2 engines.
And something that I feel like we should mention is the fact that our boat doesn't have a trailer, so every time it goes somewhere, it has to get pulled out, so there's a haul-out fee.
Yeah, so if you don't have a trailer for your boat, guess what?
There's a haul-out fee. So for this boat, for this specific maintenance, it was $150. And I will say that's actually on the nicer side.
That's a pretty good one. That was
nice. That was nice.
That's a nice one.
Typically they charge per foot. Other than the 100-hour service, the reason we brought our boat in was because we were having issues with the motors going down. So the trim of the engines, not the trim tabs, that's what's on the bottom of your boat that does this
Yes.
To make it stable.
The trim of the engine is what tilts it up and down. So in the water, out of the water, in the water, out of the water. So that's what wasn't working. And for us, it was a big issue because basically we could get them up, but they wouldn't want to come down.
So if I couldn't get them down, how could I go out and go film and go fishing?
Exactly. And at one point we had a huge film week and we got them down and we kept them down. Yes, we kept them down. There's a screw you can loosen to get them down. So we kept them down all week and then got them up and they wouldn't go back down. So we had to bring it in. This was very important, had to get fixed. So, I mean, Emily, why don't you explain what the invoice says on that?
All right. The diagnosis was that the trim motor was locked up and needed to get replaced. So basically the motor that makes the motor trim up and down needed to be replaced. The price to fix the trim of the engines in parts alone was $976.10.
Yes.
Plus the labor, which I believe was 2 hours. Yep, 2 hours at $125 an hour.
Yes, and the parts for that was very expensive.
Yeah.
That was a big part to have replaced.
The next thing we had done on the boat, which is something you guys have made a lot of comments about, and because we were bringing it in and it was kind of like the big service, we decided we're gonna paint the engines.
We're gonna paint the cowlings. We're gonna fix them and make them beautiful.
So many comments of you guys being like, wow, those engines are so dirty. Not dirty, sunburnt, whatever word you want to use.
They were sad. That's just the best way to describe it.
And the reason why we never put money into it was because it didn't affect how the motor ran. We didn't really care.
It was cosmetic.
But because this was...
We finally decided to pull the trigger. And it was, what was it, $500 per engine? Exactly.
Yes.
And that also is standard. We've gotten quoted multiple times on this project from multiple different shops, only because we have talked about doing it multiple times. And every time we were like, I don't know, is it really worth it? Probably not, it's just cosmetic. Well, this time we decided to pull the trigger and say, let's just do it this time. So $500 per engine to paint the cowlings.
Of course, when you do pull a boat out of the water, I can guarantee any past boat owners and future ones, please note this, there's going to be things that show up that you didn't know were an issue.
Exactly.
So it turns out that the hull of the boat, basically the fiberglass, the outside of the boat where the bottom paint is, was damaged.
Yes.
And we have no idea how it got damaged. We think it happened on a king tide. Maybe the boat started rubbing up against basically the rocks under the dock when the tide was really low. We
literally sure. Don't know how this happened.
We have no clue.
So we're really glad that we found it when we did.
Yes, it's good we found it. It's good. That's why you gotta pull your boat out. You gotta check on these things. And we
that was a surprise. A surprise fee.
That was not supposed to happen.
Not expected whatsoever. But something else you want to consider before we talk about how much that cost is if you do keep your boat in the water, you're going to have it bottom painted. So we didn't pay to get the bottom paint done this time.
Except for where it had to get repaired.
Except, yes, so we did have to get that patch repaired. But so when you do pull it out of the water every time, you're gonna want to ask your shop or whoever's working on the boat to check out the bottom paint. Does it need to get redone? What does it look like? That's always just something to remember and keep in mind.
The labor to fix the hull was $1,125. Plus, we had to, of course, you have to pay for the supplies, which came out to $185.
After the hull was repaired, and the majority of that price came from labor, the parts for it wasn't that expensive. So that was a labor job, just time intensive. And then the next job that we had that we did want done, that we were ready for and anticipating, was at some point there was, which you guys did see, we showed you in a video, that the side of the boat was damaged from, once again, it was a king tide or something happened to the side, and it really damaged the wrap. So we actually decided to ask them to just take the wrap off for us since they had it out of the water. So they did charge us for a wrap removal. Yes, that is something we could have done, but we were just trying to be smart with it.
Well, hold on. You say we could have done it, but let me read to you the description.
Actually, I will say that
the work it took
in order to remove a wrap, they say you need to have a heat gun.
Okay, so it was 3 hours of labor.
Okay.
At $125 an hour.
Okay.
It says, quotes, labor, remove wrap with heat gun and clean all adhesive residue from sides. Right. So yeah, I mean, we could have done it, but again, we don't even have a trailer. So
where were we gonna remove the wrap?
Unless we hung over the side or got in the water.
Exactly. So we did choose to have the wrap removed, and then we had to have the spot that was damaged repaired as well. Now that one happened, how did that one happen?
It rubbed on a piling.
Rubbed on a piling, just one of those fluke accidents, which is kind of funny because, like, I would say in how many years running this boat have we had a hole and fiberglass damage?
It all happened in the same year.
Literally never.
Like, it happened in the same 3 month
In the same 3 month time frame, we had hole and fiberglass damage, which we have literally never, ever, ever had, and it was just one of those...
When it rains, it pours.
Exactly. Was that included in the whole repair or no?
It was not.
Okay.
So the whole repair was another 3 hours. at $125 an hour to equal $375.
Okay, so what is next?
The very last thing on the list is that the trim tabs. Now this is what levels the boat. Remember this?
Yes, exactly. So this is the
when the boat's going this way and then you want to get it to go this way. That's your trim tabs. And our trim tab stopped working, so that was another issue we had to get fixed.
And that is something that honestly, I would say breaks very often on boats. So if you're a new boat owner and you're wondering like what's something that I can anticipate to break pretty often.
Trim tabs.
Trim tabs seem to go a lot. So how much was that?
This one was $376.29 in parts, plus 2 hours of labor.
Okay, so is that everything?
That's everything.
Okay, so what was we gotta read them the final price of it.
Oh yeah, we will.
Okay, so we basically had a huge project, pull the boat out of the water. There's haul out fees. There's, obviously we have the 100-hour service on the engines. Our trim motor broke.
Yep.
On the engines, the trim tabs went. We had hull damage that we were not anticipating, and then there was some hull damage that we were anticipating, along with a wrap removal. We had quite a bit going on this time. This was definitely on the larger side of a project for us. So we hope that kind of helped you guys understand like what some of the expenses might be. You're paying hourly for labor. $125 an hour is pretty standard. That's a pretty good price as well. So Emily, what was the final cost of the entire service?
The price of the parts, of all the parts combined, came out to $3,320.15.
Yikes.
Like I said earlier, the haul out fee was $150. The labor came out to $5,437.50. And lastly, we have taxes.
$668.07 in taxes.
The final price of all of this was $9,575.72. Now, this hefty fee of nearly $10,000, it hurts, don't get me wrong. And it hurts even worse because, unfortunately, the things that we had fixed are still broken.
Not everything.
Not everything.
Just specifically
the engines going down. The trim of the engines.
Yes.
And we actually brought it back into the mechanic and he repaired it for free because he was like, I'm sorry, like it didn't work the first time, which was extremely nice of him. I was really,
yes.
A lot of guys won't do that.
Yes.
So he fixed it for free the second time. We got it back, we ran it maybe once or twice, and the issue's here again.
Yes.
So we're kind of at the point, and we've been getting to this point over the last
Right, so it's
year.
not just the trim.
We're at the point where over the last year or two, this boat needs to get repowered. And repowered to new engines, new steering, new everything
wiring,
except the hull itself.
A huge, huge project. So this boat is basically at the point where we might just be throwing good money after bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of where we're at. So there's a chance that this boat is going to be retired.
Yeah. It's just a matter of how much longer can we use it before a motor blows up or we just can't.
And that's kind of always been our mindset, was we are just going to use it until an engine just bursts and it's just like dead, not running, not operable. And we're kind of almost there.
Because let me put this perspective, you guys. The price to repower the boat and to do the new steering and new wiring will cost more than the value of the boat. I don't love the boat, I'll be honest. I love the memories. The business we started on it, the charters we used to run on it.
Yes.
I love everything about it, but it's not
the dream boat. It's just not. So there might come a day where this boat gets retired. We hope this was helpful for those of you guys that had been wondering how much it costs to maintain a boat. That's just one project we've had. If we really wanted to, we could go over literally all of our costs, a year's worth of invoices and projects we've had. But that was just one project. You guys really enjoyed our How Much Did Bimini Cost video. We did that on purpose to be transparent with you. So if you guys wanted to do your own trip, you could get in your boat and do it as well. Same thing, if you're looking to own a boat, if you have a boat, if you're a new boat owner, that's what this video is for. This was a big project.
This was a big project.
You're right,
It's not normally, I would definitely prepare yourself mentally for the $1,000 every 100 hours.
Yes.
Plus maybe a couple grand here and there for things that break.
Yes, I'd agree with that. This was a big project, but being a boat owner, you do need to be prepared for this could happen to you.
Maybe you crash into a piling. Who knows?
I don't know. In the meantime, we want you guys to get out there, have fun, and stay safe.